Hey there guys, Martine from Matthew's Studio coming to you once again from my backyard. I'm hanging out under a ladder. Some people think it's unlucky. I've been hanging out under ladders for the past 18 years and I've had nothing but luck. So go figure. All right, each to their own. So I'm under the ladder for a reason, not just to talk about how lucky I am, but I'm under a ladder to show you guys the Truckers Hitch. I think this is the best way to show it since I don't have a 12 by overhead frame in my backyard. I am pretending that the top of this ladder is the top edge of my 12 by overhead. That's what this post is about. As soon as I show you how to do this Truckers Hitch, we're going to slide over to a really cool demonstration by Richard Mall on a way to secure, his preferred way to secure an overhead frame. He went mini, guys. Can you believe it? I inspired the great Richard Mall to go mini and take what he had in his garage and mock up together a small scale version of a 12 by frame. And he's going to show you his preferred methods of making it safe, tying it down. Richard's been doing this for a very long time, and one of the reasons I love working for the guy is because he's extremely safety oriented. He's really good at the entire job, but the most important part of being a key grip is to keep everybody safe. We're working with all the big gear. When the wind picks up, we want to keep everybody safe and make sure that the equipment we're using to light with stays put and doesn't topple over, and So we're going to go over to that demo right after I show you the Truckers Hitch. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. Oh, vertical right here. I get it. It's a pet peeve of many people, but I believe this is the best way to tell the story of the Truckers Hitch, all right? So we'll be back into the landscape mode soon. Right now, just pretend I'm your aunt filming something at your cousin's bar mitzvah or something. I don't know. But I think this is the best way to illustrate it. Not the karate chops, the vertical aspect ratio, all right? So here we go. You got your line, all right? Up there is the top of my 12 by frame. 20 by frame, 8 by frame, whatever overhead frame you're working with, you're going to have 4 lines tied to the top rail, 2 on each corner. On each corner, you'll have a front line, and you'll have back lines. So a line that goes to the front to secure it, a line that goes to the back to secure it, and the same on the other corner. I think that makes sense, right? The way you tie them up there is a clove hitch. If you don't know about a clove hitch, I had another post that you can check out on Matthew's University channel. IGTV, YouTube, wherever it is, and it'll show you how to do a clove hitch. Really cool knot. Today though, trucker hitch. So here we go. You got a clove hitch up top, it comes down, and you are going to want to be tying this end to a ground stake, to the base of a tree, to the bumper of a truck, whatever it is that isn't going to move when the wind picks up and tries to take that frame away. You want to pull on it, make sure whatever you're securing to is going to be able to take the force that could potentially try to pull against it. All right, here we are. For this demonstration, I have a couple of Matthew sandbags down here with a carabiner, and that's going to be my tie to. That's going to be my point that I'm going to be tying this down to, just to show you how to do the Truckers Hitch. Here it is. You're going to do 1, 2 turns into a loop, and then you're going to pull a bite through that loop. Okay? So what I just did was I made 1, 2, I grabbed the line and I pulled it through. So now we have a bite, which is going to be a loop that we're going to pass through after we tie to something down there, or wrap around or go through something that you're going to be securing to. So I'm going to take the leading end of the line right here, and I'm going to put it through my carabiner and pull all the slack through, so that we don't have something snagged down there. Now that all the slack's through, I'm going to take that same leading end and put it through that bite that we just set up. Pull it all the way through, and get all this grass out of the way. And there you have it. You see, you now have a 2-to-1 mechanical advantage over this guy. So when you pull on it, you're only going to want to pull the slack out of the line. You don't want to crank down on it super hard, or you're going to change the angle of that frame. If you just dialed it in so that you have a really great math bouncing back the light and it's been dialed in perfect, if you crank on this, it's going to change that angle. If you crank on it extra, it could topple the frame. So we know we're all extremely strong, but pay attention to what you're doing. When you're putting tension on this, look at that top edge and make sure that you're not changing the angle of the frame. So once you have your tension that you want, you're gonna grab the bite right there so it doesn't go anywhere. I hope I'm close enough so you guys can see this. You grab the bite and you're gonna do a half hitch. That means you're gonna go around the line and through it. You have now secured it. But this is a quick release. With that half hitch, if I were to pull on here, I'll do it right now, I just released it. So after you do that half hitch, you pull it through, you're gonna do one more half hitch to be able to lock it in. So I'm gonna go back around, and I'm gonna tie it. So now you have two half hitches locking this guy off. Now, this leading end of the line, it's not going to do anything if you pull on it. So in Richard Mall's demonstration, you're going to see he's going to talk about tying this end back to the bottom of the frame. So it's important that you lock that in, or else it'll still just be a quick release. All right, and he'll talk more about that in his post. But if you're not going to be tying this off to the bottom edge of a frame or anything, you want to do what we always do, and that's clean up the ends of our lines. So you're going to wrap it up, and for my other posts, remember, it has its own memory. You don't need to force this guy. Pay attention to the line. Listen to his feelings. He's going to want to wrap himself. There you go. You're going to wrap it like that. Take that loop that you made, put it through, and then capture that guy, and you have a beautifully cleaned up line, a trucker's hitch, securing the top edge of your frame. I keep it really simple. There's many ways to do this. There's many trucker's hitches, there's many awesome knots that people tie, all these cool advantages and this and that with knots and flare and dazzle. It's like I've seen 40 years of Boy Scouting in one knot, and I see it, I'm like, holy moly, what am I looking at? And really, I'm like, what is that monster? And everyone else has untied their simple trucker's hitches, and I'm still there trying to figure it out, and I got a big rat's nest, and I'm like, oh, real cool, whoever did this. I'm not going to be the guy that unties the line. If I tie it, someone else is going to come and inherit my work, and he's going to have to work with it, or she's going to have to work with it. So be mindful that if you keep it simple, everybody's going to be able to untie it, retie it, whatever it is. If you want to show off, go to the carts and tie some cool knots. But if you're out in the field and you're trying to, keep something secure, and you're going to have to move on soon, just make it simple so the next guy can deal with a knot. If everybody's, on the same page, it keeps it that much easier to do. That makes sense, right? All right. So I'm going to untie this real quick, and we're just going to do it one more time so you guys can see it. I'm going to pull this guy out, and now you have your quick release, and you can pull this line out through the carabiner. And then you have this guy, bingo bango, just like that. And how do we do it? We did 1, 2, pulled through our bite. We put the end through the carabiner, pull all that through, all that slack, until it gets nice and tight. You get the slack out of the line, get a little bit of tension, grab the bite, do a half hitch. Here we go. And then lock it off with one more half hitch. And as I say these things, half hitch, trucker's hitch, there's wonderful guides on YouTube. There's really good apps that show you really close up with different colored lines how to do this. So if I'm not giving you a good enough view of how to do this, how to demonstrating it well, refer to awesome guides and YouTube videos, because there's people out there that put out really cool guides, a lot of climbing forums and things like that. And there you have it. I'm going to clean up my line because that's what you do. And I really like doing it. It's kind of meditative to me. You pull that through, and there you go. You're good to go. Now, on to Richard Mall's awesome demonstration. Thank you for paying attention to me. Even if you didn't, if you went and made a sandwich, that's fine too. I get hungry. I'm hungry right now. I think my wife is making pizza, and I love that. So have a great evening. Have a great day. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sharing, for commenting, and keep it coming, guys. We're having a really good time, and we cannot appreciate the feedback anymore and the support. Take care of each other. See you soon. On to Richard.
Okay, so Corona boredom has completely set in, and after watching Martine's little video of condor he made, I decided to do a little demo on how I like to tie off a 12 by 12 frame. Let's pretend this is a 12 by 12 frame. You know, this is your frame and these are stands, and I just put this together as a little demo, obviously. And what I like to do is get 4 lines and 4 grounding stakes, and position the stakes in the line with the frame, front and back, at about a 45-degree angle if you can, depending on the space you have available. And what we do is we tie a clove hitch at the top, come down to the stake, do a trucker's hitch, and then tie it off, lock it. 2 half hitches will lock it, and then take the end of the line to the bottom of the frame. When you do that, the frame now can't tilt. You do the same thing on the back side. Trucker's hitch, tie it off, and then take the tail back to the bottom of the frame. You do that on both sides. When you do that, this stand, this frame isn't moving. It doesn't matter the wind. I mean, you know, I did a movie many years ago called Forces of Nature, and we had 100-mile-an-hour wind machines trying to make a hurricane. And the cinematographer wanted diffusion for the actors and the lights, so we put this up and never had a problem. Now, in this situation, this would be for diffusion, and we'd put the light back here. Some people, I don't want to say it's lazy, but what they do is they put one stake in the back, like this. Oop. And one stake in the front. And what happens when you do this, it's going to be a tough time to, what you can do, but what happens is if they put a light back here, now this is all in the way of the light. You can't move the light around. They want to put 2 lights. So I generally try and put 2 stakes. One in the back for the light, I'm not as eloquent as Martine. You can do one in the front, so you're just doing 3 stakes, and then it doesn't matter which way the wind hits this thing, it's not going anywhere. Now, if you're in a really heavy winded environment, and sometimes we are, I've also been known to tie the stand down, and I'll generally just take one line and tie the line this way on both stands, and then it doesn't matter which way the wind attacks the frame, it can't go anywhere. So my little model, pretend there's a diffusion in there. That's a 12 by 12 frame. Now this way no one has to stand on the frame. It is actually safer than people standing on the frame. What I see sometimes, and I don't like to see it, but what I see is some people will go ahead and tie the frame down to the bottom of the stand. I personally never quite understood that, because now the only thing holding it down is people and or a sandbag. And if a 12 by 12 gets hit by enough wind, nothing's going to keep it, because people are going to get hurt. So, you know, tying the frame to the stand, I personally think is a bad idea. Put some anchors out there, sandbags, sandbag carts, a dolly, whatever you have out there. I know sometimes we're in an environment where you can't put a stake in the ground, have some other way of adding a bunch of weight. Find a truck, condor, anything you can. But this is how I like to tie off a 12 by 12 frame. So in the last video, what we showed was how to tie off a 12 by 12 diffusion frame. Now this is a little model of how to do a 12 by 12 bounce. generally in an exterior day environment. When you're using the sun, put diffusion in here, or I'm sorry, white ultra bounce, matte bounce, in this, like a 12 by 12 space. What I like to do is take the ears and put them at the top of the frame. So you can put the stand at the very top, and then I didn't for this demo, but I generally put them at a bit of steeper of an angle. And some people call this Hollywooding. I don't know why that term came up, because they do it all over the place, not just in Hollywood. But put it at an angle with the ear up here, and then I take 2 ropes and I tie back to a single stake in the ground in the back. And then, here's a little trick. In the front, I drive 2 stakes, one on either side of the 12 by frame. What this does is it keeps the frame from rotating up. If the wind comes from this direction, it can't bring the bottom of the frame up. And the line there keeps this from going in that direction, and then the stands at an angle keep that from going in that direction. So this is generally how I like to set a 12 by 12 up in for day exterior bounce. Then here's what I use as a trick to, look, I can move this thing anywhere, to know if the frame is aimed correctly. I use the square part of the stock, and I look for the reflection angle in the sun and try and get it as bright as possible. Then I know it's focused. I stand where they want the focus. Then I know it's focused as best as it can be. So that's what I do, how I focus a 12 by 12 in the sun. So I rotate it to where I stand where the light wants to be, and I find the brightest part, and that's it. Pan, tilt, done. Okay.